in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Get this. The director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, has just announced he's resigning.
But we begin with the war in Iran. President Trump's top counterterrorism official resigning tonight, saying Iran posed, quote, no imminent threat to the U.S.
And now, for the first time, a top official in the Trump administration itself has resigned in protest over the war.
Tonight, the administration's top counterterrorism official resigning in protest over President Trump's war with Iran.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. How are we going to get by without Joe Kent? How are we going to get by? This is a crisis. Well, that was last week. And policy hasn't changed, thankfully. Joe Kent had his moment that he's milking. Podcast, cable news, podcast, cable news, podcast, Sunday show coming up. It just doesn't matter. Things happen so damn quick. And the subject changes so damned often. For instance, do you remember where you were when you heard this news? Oh, boy, get ready. I'll remember where I was when Kennedy got shot. I will remember where I was when the Challenger blew up. And I'll never forget the day that Scott Pruitt quit. Cut 16.
Afternoon, everyone. We're coming on the air now with some breaking news. Just learning from the president through a tweet that the EPA administrator, Scott Pruitt, has resigned.
Scott Pruitt from the EPA is gone! I'll never be the same. What? Who? Didn't that sound with the bells and the whistles and the trumpets? They literally have trumpets. Wasn't it? Is that trumpets that they play one more time there, 16?
Afternoon, everyone. We're coming on the air now with some breaking news. Just learning from the president through a tweet that the EPA administrator, Scott Pruitt, has resigned.
Play those trumpets. Play those trumpets. Now, this stuff doesn't matter. As he's finding out, things happen. You make a splash. And since everybody is making a splash, the subject changes so often that almost nothing matters. Right? Oh, they're really going to have to listen to me. Why? What are the repercussions if we listen to you and don't do anything? None. What are the repercussions if we don't listen to you? What are the repercussions if some people listen to you and other people don't? We don't do it. We don't have to do anything. If everybody has a voice in a weird way, nobody has a voice. Does that make sense? There was a time when we had far fewer voices, but those voices were more powerful. This is both good and bad. For the moment, I think it's kind of bad. Although for Joe Kent, I think there's a future. There's a way out of this, right? He'll have a podcast, I guess. Will it make money? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But a lot of them have been lured into that field because dopey people like Alexandra Cooper, I think she signed listen to this. She's 31 years old. She signed a $250 million deal for her podcast that she's been doing since college, all right? I'm not saying she doesn't have a knack for it. I am saying she's rather disgusting. And the content that everybody feasts on and is so addicted to is depraved and taking us in a horrible, bad direction. And here she is doing her thing for $250 million. What does she have to say? Cut 17.
I decided that I was going to ramp it up 10 notches. Insert the sloppy toppy delight. Before I met Matt, I had good sex, but this man changed the course of my life and changed everything for me, okay? I needed to tell you guys what this man had done to my vagina.
Yeah, and she goes on and on about the vagina. Now, you may be thinking, well, what about Howard Stern? You know, I mean, well, Howard Stern, number one, Howard Stern was a pioneer. Number one, Howard Stern gifted. Number three, Howard Stern became a master of the medium. And he didn't start by making $250 million, right? He started making minimum wage. I remember he told the story he was turned down by that radio station in Alaska. He was willing to move to Alaska. They didn't like his voice. They didn't like anything about it. But he kept at it. He mastered his craft. There's no craft anymore. I heard somebody, Katie Miller said, people I know, people I like, have gone on to do successful TV shows, podcasts, radio shows, and film. And I said, hey, I can do that too. So I'm doing it with the help of the White House and Elon Musk. And I mean, good for her. But I don't know. No standards. It doesn't really matter anymore. People shooting their mouths off, including and especially me, by the way. But there was a time where wisdom, experience, judgment were valued. And old didn't necessarily mean bad. Old didn't mean stale. The young wished to emulate those who were senior to them. Now, there was a time, and yeah, I understand people can tweet something and it can ricochet around the globe and people will talk about it for a nanosecond, but nothing actually gets done. There was a time, and things change. You know, I don't want to make this, I'm not Mr. Nostalgia. Things change. You got to keep up with the times. But we had guys like, who were the big columnists? Murray Kempton, Walter Winchell, Walter Lippmann, Joseph Alsop. Nobody knows about these guys anymore, but they were well-informed. They were experienced. Everybody read them, and they were admired. They were studious, and they were responsible. Not reckless jerks having Twitter wars with each other. This is, let me see here. Walter Lippmann, cut 18 if you don't mind. Cut 18.
You dictate your terms. You suppose that happened. That would be winning, the way we won the war against Japan in the Second World War. That wouldn't be worth anything because 5 years later, Ho Chi Minh will be dead, and you think that the Vietnamese are going to stand for what we stand for, our presence forever in South Vietnam? Impossible to imagine it.
It's just so interesting. That was on national television, and this was one of the most prominent journalists in the country, and he was being interviewed by about 6 young people, not kids. It wasn't a gimmick. They were like in their early 20s, and it was a thoughtful conversation over an hour. What passes for thoughtful now? What the hell is that thing called again? And the podcast is called Call Her Daddy. Call Her Daddy. This is what passes for content now. Yeah.
I decided that I was going to ramp it up 10 notches. Insert the sloppy toppy delight. Before I met Matt, I had good sex, but this man changed the course of my life and changed everything for me. Okay. I needed to tell you guys what this man had done to my vagina.
You know, this is what the people in Iran, the Taliban, they look to this and they say, wow, that really is depraved. And I hate the Taliban. I despise the regime in Iran. But they may have a little bit of a point. They may have an itsy-bitsy little bit of a point. And maybe we should take note. Maybe we should reevaluate. Maybe we should rethink. Maybe we should, and not because it's fashionable and cool, you know, oh, there's a real revival going on. People are going back to church. My foot. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. I haven't felt it. People seem as lost and as lonely and as weird as ever before. Then again, this is fascinating to me. I pointed out today on Twitter that the thing with the tattoos is making me sick. I just can't believe tattoos. You know, they really bother me most on men, actually, who tat up their entire arm. Somebody retweeted this bad boy. I came out with a statement, or then again, maybe I just, this is what it's like when you have 1 million followers on Twitter, at Greg Kelly USA. You put something out and everybody goes bananas. I put pictures of 4 people. A woman sticking her neck out, and sticking her tongue out, rather, with tats over her neck, her biceps, and forearms. Not unattractive for the moment. Some dude in a podcast with tats all over his forearms and hands. Somebody getting a tattoo, and the guy with the tattoo has tattoos all over his hands and fingers. And then a shot that I can't say it's unattractive for the moment, but I do think it's wrong. She's got a tattoo on the side of her, on her side. It goes basically from, the area, the level with her breast from the side all the way down to her waist. And it's some sort of curly Q thing. I'm not saying these things aren't alluring from time to time, but they are universal. And my message to everybody was, what the hell is going on with the tattoos? Back in the day, only sailors got them when they were drunk, maybe in the Philippines. Then it became a thing with strippers in the 90s, and now I see everybody doing it. Nurses, interns, guys who work in insurance companies, everybody. It doesn't matter. My theory here, it's easy and quick. It's an easy and quick way to feel distinctive and special without actually doing the work that is required to be distinctive and special. Too much ink and selfies, not enough grit. You got to grind it out in life. You got to grind it out. You got to make things happen. And by the way, making things happen, usually for the most part, isn't fun. You know, read Art of the Deal. Read Art of the Deal from by President Trump. You know, a lot of the stuff that he had to do to have those things, he had to scrounge around, he had to wheel and deal, and it wasn't all glamorous. I mean, he had to go back, literally go back to the drawing board. Literally with the ruler, get down on his hands and knees and measure the distance from the sidewalk to where he wants to start his building, and then measure it again to where the city says he should start his building, and then measure it again to where he could start his building if he gets a waiver. And that's all on, you know, people like, oh, yeah, walk into a building. You know what I mean? You don't just give the specs to an architect or an engineer. It is a pain in the ass. And then you got to go to 50,000 different banks and dance. And he did all that stuff. People don't want to do it. It's too easy. And it's too easy for me to pick on the Kardashians, but quite frankly, they're responsible. Those fat asses, right? They treat Bruce Jenner, one of the greatest athletes that ever lived, like a jerk. They treat him so poorly. When it was back when Caitlyn was Bruce, they would disrespect him. They would make fun of him. And there's Kim, fat ass. Hey, why don't we ever call? I mean, hello. Her rear end is ridiculous. She doesn't sing. She doesn't dance. She's not. What is her thing? She's not a model. I don't know. She made that sex tape with whoever the hell that was and liked it. You know, she wasn't even embarrassed. It actually helped her. We're at a point where having sex on camera doesn't hurt you. It helps you. I don't know. But those women in that example, you too can be a billionaire with zero talent. And you see it. You see it everywhere. I see it in books. I see it on television. I see it. Well, maybe we saw it the other night at that airport. People not paying attention to the basics. You know, the bread and butter stuff. All right, I know. I sound a little bit like a jerk. I don't want to be a jerk. Some of these products are awesome. I look at it. I use these things. Not OnlyFans. I haven't done that. I don't need that kind of interactivity. I don't want that. But look, yeah, I've seen it all. I've done a lot. And I know what's good and I know what's wrong. And I know what he wants and what he doesn't want. And he doesn't want so much of what's happening right now. Give me a moment, please.
Greg Kelly on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Wow, 4-hour wait times at Houston's Bush Airport. Wait times are up 40% in Atlanta, up 31% in New Orleans. Great big long lines. The line I'm looking at right now in Houston, the line is moving. And the other thing we have to really kind of recognize is lines are not as bad as they used to be with the smartphone. Right? With the phone, it just makes everything better, easier. I mean, also worse. But being in line is not the end of the world. we don't really have to sacrifice all that much, do we? What's the last thing we had to sacrifice in this country? Really, COVID. Yeah, all that nonsense. That will never, ever, ever happen again. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Well, my tweet has gone viral, my complaining about the tattoo. And now I understand why it's gone viral. People hate it. Well, there are a lot of, they have something called the woke left and the Twitter Nazi. What do they call it? Woke Twitter. So a lot of people have tats. And you know what? Now we have woke MAGA. The MAGA, the woke right, they call it. These people dominate Twitter. And they don't like what I had to say. Some do. A lot don't. One guy just says, "Shut the F up, Greg." Somebody else says, repellent for dudes like you. Let's see here. I'm trying to find the nasty ones. I had a whole bunch of nasty ones. Dating world is full of women that look like coloring books. It's an inherent truth that we all know as children that tattoos are bad. It's interesting, right? We knew that as kids. What is it? We destroy what we were told. Somebody says this: a very hot and tatted nurse took my vitals the other day. He looked like Nurse Jason Momoa. They used to be niche, personal, and told your story. Now they flick through a catalog to find something they identify with because they have no story to tell. Ooh. Committing permanently to something driven by temporary taste is, at best, a risky decision. Some people enjoy tattoos. Most people that get them don't choose to do so because they want to stand out. What a strange take, Greg Kelly. You sound very out of touch with reality. If you don't like tattoos, don't get them. Seems simple to me. Hey, it's Twitter. We're allowed to say stuff. Did I read you this one? My father was a World War II sailor and the only guy on any of his ships to not get a tattoo. When I asked him why, he said it takes a stronger man to resist the urge. Interesting. Somebody else writes, you don't draw graffiti on a work of art. Tattoos are disgusting. It's normie behavior signaling you are tied to the system and believe in equality. A few more shut the F up, Gregs. The tattoo crowd are just like potheads. They can't handle any criticism that tattoos are stupid. Ooh, I like that one. True.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Democrats are being asked to support ICE, and we're saying we're not going to fund public executions. We're not going to fund roving thugs who are terrorizing women. We're not going to fund grabbing a 6-year-old who's battling stage 4 cancer, who's a U.S. citizen, and deporting him. We're not going to do that anymore. And they're asking for just 2 more weeks so they can negotiate. But 2 more weeks means that we could lose another mom named Good or a nurse named Preddy. And
all right. That's Eric Swalwell, Fang Fang's boyfriend. And he's no good. Could he actually become the next governor of California? California is a great, big, prestigious state. To a punk like him, is it possible? Well, we had something going good. Thanks to Joel Gilbert, he figured out that he's ineligible to be governor because he doesn't live in California. And he made his case in court. It looks to me like they shirked their responsibilities, but he'll tell us exactly what happened. Joel Gilbert, welcome back. So take us through it. We're not going to get judicial relief, it sounds like, right?
It looks like not. He declared his Washington, D.C. residence as his primary principal residence on his mortgage documents. And then when he ran for governor in California, he told on his candidate statement, he said his home address was his lawyer's address. So I did sue him in court, tried to get the Secretary of State to not certify him to run for governor. And it all went down very quickly. This past Monday, I had this Judge Chang. She had a big attitude. She said because of a congressional law in California, 2026, says if you run for Congress, you don't have to give an address, and that's why she let him slide, and she ignored the California Constitution, which has very strict residency rules of 5 years for a governor candidate. I appealed to the appeals court, 3rd District. 4 hours later, they turned me down. I appealed to the California Supreme Court. They took 2 days, and they also denied it. Now, the interesting thing is I forced Swalwell to submit a declaration in this case to the court swearing that he lived in California without giving an address, of course. But in doing so, I think he exposed himself to mortgage fraud charges in Washington, D.C., because you can't have 2 principal residences. So that might be something that comes out of it. I also found out in researching him that he had paid his child care expenses for 5 years, over $300,000 to his campaign, when you're only allowed to charge specific to campaign events. So I put in an FEC complaint on him, actually, on my website, swalwellisdisqualified.com, and one of the people he paid to was this Brazilian nanny that, to me, it looked like she had overstayed her visa for 2 years, and he was using an illegal worker. So that's all been exposed. So there's more to come. Definitely Swalwell has a chance because he's appealing to this radical far-left voter base, and he figures if I get 15%, I'll be in the top 2 in the runoff, and once you're in the top 2 and you're a Democrat, you could win. So that's his strategy.
Well, I don't like it. And that could actually work out that way. I can't believe it. I don't think we've ever had, usually a superstar of some type becomes a governor. Jerry Brown, right? I mean, the guy had been around for, whatever. Even Gavin Newsom, mayor of San Francisco. Pete Wilson was a U.S. senator. Let's see, who the hell else? Ronald Reagan, of course, was a big shot.
Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, some slouchy, not good congressman, a joke like him becoming governor. It's got to appall even Democrats. There are certain Democrats who are like, this can't be happening.
Well, look, he's lined up a lot of endorsements from all these labor unions, doctors, SEIU. Every day he's got some new endorsement. So I am very concerned that the fix might be in for him. We saw that the courts are fixed for him. The labor movement is in for him. And he thinks if I just keep up my far-left anti-Trump radical rhetoric, I'll get my 15% and I'll make it to the runoff. So it is a great concern. I think he's a total lunatic. He has no policies whatsoever. He's got no brains. He had an affair with a Chinese spy, for God's sakes, when he was on the Intelligence Committee. I uncovered some of his college writings where he was glorifying these cop killers, even though his father was a cop. I think that might be his underlying psychology. He's mad at his dad. But in college, he demanded that Leonard Peltier and Abu Jamal be freed. He called them political prisoners. He wrote some creepy poetry. So I think this guy's a mess. Even worse is that California has a $500 billion budget. And I looked up Swalwell's finances. When you look at his disclosures for Congress, he hasn't paid off his student debts. He still owes $100,000. He owes $100,000 in credit cards. He cashed out his pension. So this guy's like a financial mess and somehow thinks he can run a state. It can't happen.
Well, it can't happen, but it's happening. That's just weird. Let me just ask you one more thing here. If it does happen, can they get him? Is this impeachable? I mean, he's violating the California state constitution. Is there any way you can impeach him on this crap?
Look, there's no question. There could be more legal challenges. I went to the Supreme Court of California. There are certain federal challenges you can do that have a very low chance of success. Certain people could do it. I really took it as far as I could without a lawyer. But he would be an illegitimate governor because he does not meet the California Constitution requirements of having a home in California for 5 years. His campaign worker put in this bogus declaration saying this little 1,300-square-foot house where she lives with her husband, child, and dog, that she had rented it out to Swalwell. Now, I then provided the court with evidence that she takes a homestead exemption every year for $7,000 on that house, which requires her to live there. New York Post sent out a reporter, and they saw there's this dog, this German Shepherd, there's people in the house. They talked to the neighbors. They said they never saw Swalwell. And even Tom Steyer's campaign helped me out. They looked up Swalwell's visitations to his district. They found out every time he visited, he stayed in the Rose Hotel, this 5-star hotel. So the whole idea that he rents a house or rents a room is completely not true. And yes, I think he would be subject to being removed because he does not meet the criteria to become governor.
Hey, do me a favor. This is Gavin Newsom. I don't know what this guy has lost his mind, and he confirmed it for anybody who wants to read his book. And there aren't a lot of people who do want to read his book, but there are some people who have to read his book. Some people who have a chance to stop him politically. And I'm doing what I can, but do me a favor, his latest spectacle. Go ahead, Carlos.
The lawmakers overseeing this project, the two of them, they promised California taxpayers they'd give
barely hear her, but he's about to talk.
Lawmakers are leaving for spring break without doing so. I also asked for the Turner Construction, the main company working on the
No, brother, what a pain in the neck. Hold on.
Updates that are a matter of public record to just get a peek into the cost to get the receipts.
Long question.
This in August.
Meanwhile, he's standing there. He's so in love with himself. He's like digging himself. You can tell he's so self-conscious and self-aware.
Once the project is complete in September of 2027, that's when you'll be a regular taxpayer and out of office. Do you think the public should have to wait that long?
All right, here we go.
No. And I think I've said that to you before, and so thank you for that update. I was not aware of that. So no. It's taxpayer dollars need to be transparent, period, full stop, not complicated. So, unless there's some security consideration, there's always exceptions. But
I'm just asking for the cost.
Yeah, I don't think that would fall into that category. So,
all right, hold on.
No, I get it. No, but it's look, as a taxpayer, I'm taxpayer and governor. And I'm reasonably, good taxpayer. So no, I think it's not. You're hardly. This is hardly an argumentative frame, and it's the least I think you deserve. So let me, as I said last time, and then I was told there was progress on this. Let me see what I can do to help influence this, because I cannot, in good conscience, support that decision on the basis of the facts you just laid out.
All right. So what we have here is a stuttering and stammering mess. The reporter was Ashley Zavala, says that she is still being stonewalled by state lawmakers on anything related to the billion-dollar taxpayer Capital Annex project. And this is, of course, nearly 6 months after Gavin Newsom said he was going to get her, that specific person, answers. Kevin Dalton, he's a superstar on social. That man right there cannot govern. He can't read. He literally, like that, there's something to that part about him not being able to read. So he is not good at governing. Anytime it gets specific like this, he's in trouble. Have you seen that before? He doesn't know how to govern.
Look, I got a couple things to say on this. First of all, Newsom, to me, has always been like a young Joe Biden. He'll say anything with a straight face, no matter how ridiculous, and act like it's normal. But I'm seeing a phenomenon in Democrat cities and states. It happened in Chicago. It happened in New York, where you've got this radical mayor, which was de Blasio, of course, and then Adams, and then in Chicago we had Lightfoot, and we said, oh, thank God, we're getting rid of this complete idiot, and we can improve Chicago, improve New York. And then the Democrats replace that person with someone even more radical. And you're thinking, wow, I wish we had de Blasio back because it's so bad. So we could replace Newsom with Eric Swalwell, who's just this radical nut Bernie Sanders type of person with no ideology, with no principles, nothing. He talks about using the power of state to go after his enemies. He talks about getting revenge. He never follows the rules and the law himself. So that's my big concern, is we're going to follow the model of Chicago and New York, where they replace a bad mayor or a bad governor like Newsom with someone even worse. All
right. Well, you were amazing doing what you did and finding out what you found out. Joel Gilbert remains on the case. Highway 61 ENT. Highway61ENT.com. ENT. Or look him up on social, Joel Gilbert. We thank you so much. And you did it all. You got to the Supreme Court.
I sure did.
Without a lawyer. Good stuff, sir. Good stuff. And the fight is not over. Hey.
Thanks a lot.
You bet, man. This flu season is the worst we've seen in years, and either way, you know how this goes. Every year, someone in my family gets sick. Then everyone in the family gets sick, and then we are fighting to see a doctor or stuck waiting in a crowded urgent care, but that's not going to happen anymore because I ordered a emergency medical kit. It's been a lifesaver. My kit is stocked with essential prescription medication, antibiotics like a generic Z-Pack to help you recover faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, prescriptions for nausea, UTIs, and they even have some ivermectin in there. Simple. Match your symptoms in the guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Start treatment early. Feel better faster. No waiting rooms, no pharmacy lines. The Z-Pack is the key. The Z-Pack, I'm telling you. I love my medical kit. I love this medical emergency kit. You should get one too. And there is a $45 discount when you use my code GREG, G-R-E-G. Just go to urgentcarekit.com/Greg. That's urgentcarekit.com/Greg. And that promo code, GREG.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, I'm back. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. If you'd like to engage me on social media, at Greg Kelly USA, at Greg Kelly USA on X and Instagram. Amazing content, if I do say so myself. Yes, Natalie, hello.
Hi, Greg. I just wanted to mention to you, I know it sounds like, as you said, you don't see people going back to the church. I'm a very practicing Catholic, and I try to keep myself informed. I have to tell you that in the past 2 years, last year we had a big surge in entrance and people coming back, and it was quite a big surge here in the States as well as in Europe. And this, I was thought, oh, this is so good, but I hope that continues. Well, this year there's even more. Dioceses all throughout the country, hundreds of people. And you may not feel like you see it. I mean, I follow a lot of Catholic sites on Instagram, credible sites. And I see a lot of more so young men posting things about going to certain parishes, especially one in New York City that they really, really like, that a lot of young people are coming back to. It's a great start. I pray that it continues. I see it in my own life. My son's work partner was having some issues and was feeling very depressed, contacted me and asked me about faith and becoming a Catholic. And he's getting started. And it is something going on. I think it's more so among men, young men. But we've had quite a few in our own parish each year. Last year we had at least 9 people, a family of 5. This year we have another 8 to 9 people coming in. It is happening.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that. And I hope when they go back, I hope they also get in the Word, the book, the Bible. You know, I know a lot of people, they go to church and, somebody said something that I didn't like, and it turns them off to the church and God and Jesus. They walk away the moment they're offended. I used to be one of those people. I heard somebody say something in church once. I saw somebody I know is a phony in church once. I was so stupid. Anyway, that's very encouraging, Natalie. Thank you. Everything else good?
Everything's well. Getting ready for Easter. Very busy getting ready. I'm part of the choir there, and we've got a lot going on.
When is Easter? When is Easter?
Easter is a week from Sunday. This Sunday is Palm Sunday.
Oh, good. All righty. Thank you very much. We love it. Patrick, hello, from Indiana.
I have a suggestion about how to end the government shutdown. Pam Bondi should sue the Democrats for subversion. If they won't vote to end the government shutdown, because they are subverting America, the basis of America, which is a voting system. They're subverting by giving aid and comfort to the enemy. The enemy, in this case, is illegal aliens, and they want to keep them in the country so they can vote for them and they can win victories in eternity. So that's why they want to keep them here, but they're subverting what America was intended to be, Article 2 of the Constitution says that tells how many votes that each state gets before they have the first census.
All right. Well, listen. I agree with you on their motives. That's what they see these voters. But I don't think, first of all, is subversion. I don't think Pam Bondi has no guts, as we know. Pam Bondi is not the woman for that mission. I'm all for exploring any legal avenue to get these sons of bitches to do the right thing. But, you can't force somebody to vote in a certain way. What you're talking about sounds pretty far out there. What do they call it? A novel legal theory. But, I'm not going to shut you down. All right. Why don't you email Pam Bondi? You'd be surprised how she gets her emails. Email the Justice Department, justice.gov. Check it out, Patrick. I wish you luck. I'm intrigued. Andrew, hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
Earlier you were talking about all these stupid people getting these stupid, ugly tattoos and stupid, ugly nose rings and all that crap. And I thoroughly agree with you. What a waste of money. I mean, how much does that cost? And every time I go to some, looking for single women, it's hopeless. They're all ruined by tattoos and all that crap, right? You know what I mean.
Well, yes, but, look, how do we put this? You got to make compromises. You know what I mean? You can't go looking for perfection. A lot of people regret putting on the tattoos. I know a woman all tatted up. She's going through the procedures to have them erased. How old are you?
I'm going to be 65 on Monday.
And you're still in the dating scene, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's hopeless around here. In this part of New Jersey, everybody's married but me.
Have you ever been married?
No.
What kind of shape are you in?
Good shape. I'm, tall, skinny.
No kidding. What about, what age range are you looking for?
Well, I guess 40-something, 50-something, 60-something.
What about 30-something?
Well, okay.
Nah, no, not that I know anybody. Why the hell isn't you're in good shape? You're single, ready to mingle. What's your finances like?
Well, not the greatest, but I keep my head above water.
Yeah, that's a lot of these gold diggers out there.
Oh, that's another problem.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a woman out there for you. Have you ever tried looking through church?
I don't really like going to church. It's rather boring. I guess I have high anxiety and I just want to jump out the window if I go to church.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We can't have you doing that. All right. Well, Andrew, you got it. All right. Well, we agree about the tattoos mostly. I wish you luck. Good attitude. Stay in touch with me, all right? I got a good feeling about you, Andrew. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?